Welcome to the Schaeffler Symposium 2026. High technology for cars, lorries and of course two-wheelers as well. Oh, we're already going sideways. Today we are going to take a closer look at the latest high-tech developments, the current state of play and the future of motorcycles and two-wheelers. This is going to be brilliant. Hello and welcome from the Schaeffler Automotive Symposium. There are quite a few terms in that name which probably will not mean very much to many of you. Schaeffler is an absolutely enormous corporation. We are currently in Bühl, close to the German-French border, roughly between Stuttgart and Strasbourg, where this symposium is taking place. Schaeffler is a huge company with 112,000 employees working in all sorts of countries around the world. As the second word in the event's title, automotive, might already suggest, the company primarily works on technologies, technical solutions and high-tech systems for vehicles of every possible kind. We are talking about commercial vehicles such as lorries, performance machines such as this rather smart Audi, ATVs, side-by-side vehicles, and naturally the two-wheelers that all of us love so much. Schaeffler offers a wide range of different technologies for all of these sectors. Every 4 years, these technologies are presented as part of this symposium. Customers are invited, other major players from this high-tech world are invited, and everyone comes together to discuss new developments and technologies, examine them in detail, and in a way, search for the right path into the future. And that is exactly what we want to do today, with a particular focus on the two-wheeler sector. Where is the journey heading? We all know that the world currently seems to be becoming more and more complicated. The motorcycle industry, just like almost every other vehicle sector, is facing technological leaps, transitions and major changes. Today we are going to speak to two knowledgeable and very interesting guests about how these technologies work and how this entire development could play out. Before we get into the finer details though, perhaps our expert can explain once again exactly what Schaeffler is and what areas the company actually covers.
Schaeffler originally started with needle bearings and ball bearings. That was the company's original foundation. From there, the company continued to develop. Transmission components were added, and following the most recent integration of Vitesco, the portfolio now also includes all sorts of engine management technologies. By that, I mean electronics, for example. Schaeffler is also active in the chassis sector today. Essentially, when you think of Schaeffler, you should think of the powertrain and almost everything on a vehicle that moves or is involved in making the vehicle move.
So vehicles are really the company's main speciality. Would that be fair to say?
Today, vehicles are certainly the core of the business and by a very considerable margin. However, because of the wider economic situation, we can also see that the combustion engine market is leveling off or even declining while the electrification side is growing. At the same time, Schaeffler is moving into other sectors. That includes defense and aerospace, where some very recent collaborations have been established. The company is diversifying. Humanoid robots are another important area. So the goal is diversification and ultimately not remaining exclusively an automotive supplier.
Naturally, we are particularly interested in the motorcycle and two-wheeler side of the business. Schaeffler is an enormous company. I was told earlier that it employs 112,000 people globally, which is absolutely incredible. Within this enormous organization and all of the different sectors you have just mentioned, where exactly does the two-wheeler division fit in and how large is it in relation to the overall company?
We probably account for around 1% of the group's total revenue, just to give you an idea of the scale. That is also why our strategy is to draw from the full range of technologies already available within the automotive division, particularly from the passenger car side. A great deal of it involves expertise and technological building blocks that can be reused and then adapted specifically for two-wheelers or other power sports applications. Overall, we are growing. But as things stand today, you can say that we account for roughly 1% of the Schaeffler Group.
And what is the strategy behind the systems and products you develop? What is supposed to happen with them? How exactly does Schaeffler's business model work? Do you build your own vehicles, or are these systems mainly supplied to vehicle manufacturers?
Our focus is not on building our own vehicles. That is not our intention. We are a supplier in the traditional sense of the automotive supply industry. Our aim is to sell our products to car manufacturers, or in the two-wheeler sector to motorcycle manufacturers and power sports manufacturers.
Your products have probably already appeared right beneath the noses, beneath the fingers, or beneath the seats of many motorcyclists without them even realizing it. Which collaborations or Schaeffler products are already on the market and are likely to affect a great many riders today?
Speaking for my own area, our main focus is the entire subject of engine management. That means the electronics and all the related components required to deliver fuel into the combustion chamber. We are already working with some highly respected motorcycle manufacturers here in Europe. One example that we can speak about publicly, because it is already well known, is that we provide the engine management system for the Ducati V4. That includes all the components required to deliver fuel into the combustion chamber and manage the airflow. That is our contribution, and it is also the area on which we are concentrating. In the future, we also see ourselves moving further into transmission control, because we believe that will become a very important part of the industry. As things stand today, though, our core business is engine management, managing the delivery of fuel and air with the corresponding electronics.
We are here for a very special occasion, the symposium. What exactly is this symposium?
For our division, this is the very first time that two-wheelers have been represented at the Schaeffler Automotive Symposium. It is also the first time for Schaeffler as a whole, and we are presenting all of our products and innovations. The tradition goes all the way back to 1978. It originally began as a transmission conference. In 2002, it became the Schaeffler Colloquium. However, because we are becoming increasingly international and our visitors are also becoming more international, we now present the event as the Schaeffler Symposium. As I said, this is the first time for our two-wheeler division, so it is very exciting for us. The idea is that Schaeffler presents the innovations of the entire group, condensed into 2 days, to several hundred visitors. The real aim is to create expert discussions. We are not simply here to give presentations. We have invited selected customers who can use these 2 days to move through all the different areas, speak directly to the experts, and examine the technologies. The experts are here, the vehicles are here, and the vehicles can be test-ridden or test-driven. That is really the spirit of the event. Naturally, innovation does not happen overnight, so the symposium only takes place every 4 years. By now, it is genuinely unique. I do not know of any competitor that organizes an event like this, invites customers, and presents everything in such a concentrated form.
When many people think about the future of two-wheelers, they immediately think about electric drive systems, either as a source of hope or as a rather gloomy prediction. Schaeffler itself says that there is no need to panic, because the good old combustion engine is going to remain part of the two-wheeler world. And if the combustion engine is going to remain, it also makes sense for Schaeffler to continue investing innovation, energy, and time in it. That work is reflected in a range of different technologies, which we are going to discuss now. What direction does Schaeffler believe the market will take? And where is the company currently placing more emphasis? Electric drive systems or combustion engines?
There was a period in the passenger car sector when people expected the combustion engine to decline very rapidly. Today we can see that this is no longer happening in quite that way. We never expected such a dramatic decline in the two-wheeler sector. From our perspective, the combustion engine side of the two-wheeler market is relatively stable. It is not really growing, but it is not disappearing either. The growth is happening in electrification. The first important message is that the combustion engine will remain with us for a very long time. At the same time, it is also a fact that particularly in Asia, vehicles roughly equivalent to the 150 cubic centimeter class are moving very strongly towards electrification. That makes sense because a two-wheeler of that type can be electrified comparatively easily. Electrifying a high-end motorcycle is still enormously challenging. Either the motorcycle becomes too heavy, the range is not good enough, or the price is too high. Everyone is working on it and everyone has developed something, but we have not yet seen the same kind of breakthrough that we have seen in the passenger car sector. We do not see that breakthrough today. Will it come? Certainly. For the moment, Schaeffler is focusing its electrification efforts on 48-volt systems, particularly for Asia. Once we have established those systems there, we can of course also offer 48-volt solutions here. At the same time, development work on combustion engine products is continuing. The latest generation we are currently developing is not even available yet. We are still working on it, and it is due to enter series production for the first time from 2027 onwards. So we are continuing to work on the combustion engine. It will remain an important subject for us, and this will certainly not be the final generation. However, we no longer expect significant growth in that area.
A lot of people think about electric bikes when they think about the future, but internal combustion engine is still very important, at least to Schaeffler. What is your high tech in that aspect?
So this is very important because also we see still some potential in the combustion engine, and we are convinced that we are able to move forward with a combustion engine. Okay, so as you can see here, this is typically what we can do in terms of throttle body, where compared to some competitor, we are really able to customize throttle body to have some oval shape. This is really the way that we are managing the development of product, being able really to answer to customer-specific expectation, to be able to be sure that they will reach maximum performance of the engine, complying with emission. I would like to focus on this one here, which is in fact our old generation in terms of ECU, where it was the 4th generation, and now we are developing the 5th generation. So the baby will come, the M5C will come, the M5D is already in development, and this is typically the issue that I shared before with you, explaining that with this kind of product, we are able to manage a complex engine like 4-cylinder engine, but also for a 2-cylinder engine, 3-cylinder engine, we are able to combine inside the automatic transmission management, but also if you have an hybrid, the hybridization of the powertrain. So you have in fact 3 boxes in one. So in terms of architecture on an application, you know, on a bike, you have not so many space on the bike. So if you have to put 1 ECU, 2 ECU, 3 ECU, 4 ECU, in fact you are missing space. With this one, we are able to develop 3 in 1 box typically. So this is for us something, and in terms of cost for sure, if you have 3 boxes on 1 box, you have a different cost.
Until now, systems like these have mainly been developed by the very largest motorcycle manufacturers, but the rest of the market is going to follow. Schaeffler is currently working on a new version and on the prototype we have right here in front of us, so that smaller manufacturers and bikes in the middleweight class can also be equipped with this kind of automated shifting technology. And we are going to talk now about why they believe automated shifting systems will become so important in the future.
Explain to me what are the main challenges just getting by with the combustion engine in modern times, emission norms, etc. And also then maybe what does why the automatic transmission is a helpful thing.
Our customer, most of the time, they were focused on performance. And until now, it was really the focus of our customer. But step by step, the regulation is coming, more and more expectation. The automotive is moving to electrification, so we have a big gap. We need to catch this gap. So what we did, in terms of technology for combustion engine, we have investigated a lot of techno-brick from automotive, like a turbocharger, direct injection, 48-volt compressor, optimize bearing. So we have investigated a lot of technology in order to bundle different technology and to offer to our customer according to their expectation, the best compromise for their application. What is important with automatic transmission, this is really when you combine, as we are doing, electrical machine and combustion engine. You bridge both, and in between both, you need to have automatic transmission. This is the best way to manage properly the combustion engine, the electrification, and to make them work together perfectly. So as I shared this morning, in fact, automatic transmission is very important to phase to emission standard, but also to give the opportunity to rider to have a different experience and new experience, because now you see on car, all cars are automated, and in fact it's the same thing for motorcycle. We need to do that. What you have here, this is let's say the state of the art and what is today in production, but this is only an expensive solution, so you are not able to offer this kind of solution to all the rider. What we want to do with Schaeffler, we want also to offer to the mid-range the possibility to access to this safe ride, to this comfortable ride. And so we are developing here, sorry I cannot disclose because we'll disclose that tomorrow with a customer, a new concept that we presented at the EICMA last year, where we explained to our customer that we are working on a new concept for automatic transmission in order to be able to address mass market. And so we did during 6 months, we developed the concept during 6 months, and tomorrow we'll disclose the bike that you tested this morning was the first prototype for this automatic transmission. And it will be an outstanding new automatic transmission where we expect that many people will be interested in.
Even though Schaeffler remains committed to the combustion engine, electric drive systems will naturally play a major role in the future. And that does not only apply to niche products such as the Stark Varg or to powerful recreational machines such as this side-by-side vehicle that I was allowed to drive today. By the way, the electric motor in that machine produces 150 kilowatts. It was ridiculously good fun when it started sliding sideways. Honestly, it was brilliant. But the biggest role for electric drive systems will probably be in more practical applications, namely short distances and urban environments. None of that is particularly new. What is new, however, is Schaeffler's approach. The company wants to move away from the construction methods and voltage levels that are common today towards 48-volt technology and potentially even higher voltages in the future. I have already had the opportunity to ride one of Schaeffler's electric two-wheelers today. What exactly do we have standing in front of us here, and what is the general state of electric drive technology at Schaeffler?
Everything you can see here is based on 48 volts. This is currently part of our development pipeline with the aim of entering series production in India by the end of this year. Why India? Everyone asks us that. India is an enormous mass market for two-wheelers. We are talking about 25 million two-wheelers per year. There are already around 2 million electrified vehicles in that market today, and the trend is continuing upwards. Everything is based on 48 volts. Here we have the electric motor, which we are developing together with our joint venture in India. What we produce ourselves is the electronics. That does not only include inverter functionality for the electric motor, it also includes various vehicle functions, so it is essentially a two-in-one solution. We have also developed a battery management system, which we plan to bring into series production 1 year later. Initially, we assumed that battery manufacturers or the companies assembling and packaging the batteries would supply a suitable battery management system themselves. However, we then learned that there are specific functional safety requirements that those solutions did not fulfill. As a result, we were asked to develop a suitable solution. For us, functional safety is completely normal. We cannot simply work around it. Other companies may take a more relaxed approach, but that is not how we operate. That is what we currently have in our development pipeline. We can also see that a relatively small two-wheeler, something around the 150 cubic centimeter class, can be electrified quite easily. A complex, fully equipped high-end motorcycle is a different matter. On a motorcycle like that, riders still want strong performance and a useful amount of range. Meeting both of those expectations remains a real challenge. That is why we have initially concentrated on this smaller segment with systems offering up to around 15 kilowatts of continuous power. That is our first step. Here we are now looking at the high voltage area. When you examine the components, you can see that these are technologies we have transferred directly from the automotive sector.
Just to clarify the term high voltage, are we still talking about 48 volts or are we talking about something even higher?
The nominal voltage is 48 volts and the maximum is 60 volts. At that level, you do not yet have to fulfill the full set of high voltage requirements. The moment you exceed a nominal voltage of 48 volts, you enter the high voltage category and move into class B. At that point, you need to take additional precautions during development, during production, and on the vehicle itself. Essentially, anything above a nominal 48 volts is considered high voltage. However, in the examples we are discussing here, we are really talking more about systems using 400 volts or 800 volts.
Earlier, I had a huge amount of fun in the side-by-side vehicle. Perhaps I had slightly too much fun because I was eventually told that I should calm down a little. What are the advantages of using high voltage in a vehicle like that? And if this technology eventually finds its way into the two-wheeler sector, what would be the advantages there?
The main reason for moving to higher voltages is that it allows you to reduce the current. If you remain at 48 volts and continue increasing the power, you eventually end up with enormous currents. You might be dealing with 100 amperes, 500 amperes, or even more. That requires extremely thick cables and large conductor cross-sections, and at some point it simply stops making technical sense. That is why you move into the high voltage range. If the power remains the same and the voltage increases, the required current falls accordingly. For example, if you have 800 watts at 800 volts, you only need 1 ampere. Producing the same 800 watts at 48 volts is a completely different matter. Those are simply the physical realities. At a certain point, you have to move to high voltage. Trying to force a 48 volt system into that kind of performance range is simply not technically sensible.
I am now standing at the edge of Schaeffler's test area and test track, where I was able to ride and drive several different vehicles today, including this prototype. This is the hybrid prototype, and it brings together everything we have discussed so far: a combustion engine, automated shifting technology and an electric motor, in this case using a 48-volt system. Schaeffler believes that hybrid technology will become extremely important and extremely interesting in the future. Why could that be so relevant? I spoke to Didier off camera for quite a while. He is from France, where an interesting debate is currently developing in cities. A great many car drivers are now using electric cars. Those cars are extremely quiet, which means that the often much louder two-wheelers stand out even more than before. That once again fuels the debate we have been dealing with for years, the image of the supposedly bad motorcyclist. Didier believes that hybrid technology is extremely promising, particularly in relation to challenges like these and the increasingly strict emissions regulations. At low speeds, you could travel purely on the electric motor, quietly gliding along like all the cars surrounding you. Then once you leave the city, you would still have more power and more sound for riding in the countryside and enjoying a proper blast along a good country road. The one thing that must not happen is for the technology to become unaffordable. That is also one of the main objectives behind the development of this hybrid system. The prototype I wrote today is still at a very early stage. Afterwards, I was questioned in considerable detail about what I thought of the shifting algorithm. Would I prefer buttons for the manual mode? Would I prefer a conventional foot-operated gear lever? There are still many decisions to be made. However, Schaeffler is fully aware that it does not want to repeat what some competitors have done. My own example would be Kawasaki and the first hybrid motorcycle currently available on the market. Those bikes are very expensive in relation to the performance they offer, and unfortunately they have not been particularly successful as a result. Schaeffler is very clear about its objective. The hybrid system must be designed in such a way that it does not add an enormous premium to the price of an existing motorcycle. It needs to become a genuine alternative from a financial perspective as well. Whether this technology will actually make it all the way into production remains uncertain. Even so, I think the basic philosophy and the objective Schaeffler is pursuing with this technology sound very promising. But what do you think? What is your opinion of automated shifting systems, hybrid motorcycles, combustion engines and electric drive systems? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments.
So if you now think out of the rider's perspective, you get onto a vehicle that is from a manufacturer that builds their bikes with Schaeffler. In what many ways is the rider maybe able to feel the Schaeffler components?
With Schaeffler, there is no compromise on the fun to ride, on the driver experience. So what we are looking for, this is really to keep what the customer used to have on their application in terms of emotion, in terms of sensation, but to bring this combustion engine at the expected level in terms of emission. We are really focused in order to bring the maximum of technology, but keeping really what our customers are looking for. Fun to ride, easy to ride, safe to ride.
Anything you said, like from the general perspective, two wheels that's supposed to be set and wasn't set?
For me, we are doing everything every day. All our people are coming from a motorcycle world. And all the guys developing new technology, new solutions, they are all the time in mind how I can keep the fun to ride, how I can keep the emotion that we can have on a two-wheeler. Because for sure you can develop a lot of things to be compliant with emission, but if you are not able to bring to the final customer the fun, the emotion, it will not fly.
By the way, anyone who would like to know more about this hybrid Wittpilen should take a look at our earlier test. We already tested it at a previous stage of development, back when the project was still being presented under Vitesco. You will find the video linked below. Smartphones and motorcycles are now almost inseparably connected, and not only on machines such as the Stark Varg, where the smartphone even replaces the conventional display. Connectivity has become an enormously important subject. It includes communication between the two-wheeler, the smartphone, the customer, and the manufacturer. That can involve something as simple as displaying incoming messages, preparing a navigation route on the phone, and then viewing the directions on the motorcycle. But it can also go much further, including reading fault codes, adjusting the engine management system, and all sorts of other functions. On modern motorcycles, just as in the modern world in general, everything communicates with everything else. We are surrounded by wireless networks, Bluetooth connections and similar systems, and the same is now true on two-wheelers. What direction is Schaeffler taking in this area, and which specific technologies are currently being developed?
Connectivity boxes already exist on two-wheelers. Today, however, we mainly see these boxes being used to serve the rider. The rider is told that the vehicle is fully connected and the system provides certain functions for them. We see a wider purpose. At some point, we said that it is not only about the rider Everyone talks about digitalization and data, and we see a major advantage in being able to access that data. That is why we developed this analytics box. For us, the objective was to create the most cost-effective possible connection. This is not a fully equipped system with every possible wireless function and feature. Instead, we use Bluetooth, the rider's mobile phone, and then a cloud connection. The main objective is to receive data from vehicles in the field, including fault codes and many other pieces of information. The idea is that before the vehicle even arrives at the dealer, the original equipment manufacturer already knows which fault it is coming in with. That is also valuable from a quality management perspective. That was the reason we developed this small, cost-effective box. Naturally, we have also developed more fully equipped versions because additional requests always emerge. You start with a basic concept and then someone asks whether it could also include wireless networking, 4G or 5G and all sorts of other features. However, the original objective was very simple. How can we transfer this data efficiently? What sets us apart is that we understand which data is being processed on the motorcycle, particularly in the engine management system. We use edge technology. That means the data is processed directly on the motorcycle, selected and then transmitted to the cloud through the rider's phone. The idea is to send only very small and carefully selected data sets. Because we use edge computing instead of simply sending absolutely everything into the cloud, the load placed on the rider's smartphone remains very low. The system can also store data for several hours. If there is no connection available, that is not a problem. The next time the system goes online, the data is transmitted. The key difference is that we process the data first. Take engine temperature as an example. There is no need to transmit the engine temperature every single second. Depending on the temperature conditions in which the engine is currently operating, it may be enough to transmit the value every 5 minutes or every 3 minutes. That is how we select the relevant data directly on the motorcycle before sending it onwards. That is the major difference between our solution and those offered by our competitors.
So, speaking as a layman, I would say this is not simply a transmitter, it is already a small brain that makes its own decisions about which information should be forwarded to the relevant places.
Correct. Certain functions are already handled by the microprocessor inside the engine control unit. However, the main processing we have just described ultimately takes place inside this separate box. That is correct.
Perhaps one final question to close the video. Certain manufacturers do watch our videos from time to time, at least in the German-speaking market, and naturally the end customers are also watching. What is Schaeffler's main message? Why should people keep the Schaeffler name and the Schaeffler company somewhere in the back of their minds?
In reality, almost everyone already knows Schaeffler. They may know the company through bearings. To put it very simply, the name has also become better known through the most recent integration of Vitesco Technologies, a process which I believe started in 2024 and then continued from there. We have also promoted that integration several times at EICMA, so it is already fairly well known. I do not think people necessarily need to take away something completely new. The important fact is that as a combined organization, we are now able to offer more. Our expertise is not limited to bearings, even though I speak about bearings quite often. We also have colleagues who specialize in combustion engine technology. Take variable camshaft timing as one example. That is another technology being developed. This is becoming increasingly important because even with combustion engines, we are pushing efficiency closer and closer to the limit. Many technologies have already been used in the automotive sector, but were not adopted in the two-wheeler sector for a long time, largely because motorcycles already had more than enough performance. Today, we certainly have enough performance, but performance is no longer the only objective. Increasingly, it is also about cleaner operation and cleaner combustion. How can we make combustion even cleaner? What else can we improve? That is why more automotive technology will eventually make its way into the two-wheeler sector. The important thing for people to understand is that we are now working together. Our slogan was stronger together, and that is exactly the point. As a combined organization, we have even better access to a deep understanding of combustion engine technology. In the future, we expect to work together with our colleagues to develop new products and new proposals based on that knowledge. That is the message people should take away.
And that brings us to the end of our brief overview of the Schaeffler Automotive Symposium 2026. To sum everything up, I would put it like this. Firstly, regardless of our own personal opinions and preferences, I believe that from the perspective of the overall market, the two-wheeler sector will no longer be able to avoid electric drive systems, potentially hybrid solutions, or automated shifting and clutch systems in the future. The really interesting question will be where these different technologies establish themselves, in which niches, for which applications, and in which price segments. Schaeffler gives us a very good indication of the direction in which the industry is thinking. And for anyone who previously knew little about the company, it also becomes clear that Schaeffler is far more than a straightforward component supplier. To me, a simple supplier is a company you contact and say, I need these screws and this component, please send them to me. Schaeffler acts more like a supplier that actively thinks along with the manufacturer. The company considers what the industry will need and how those solutions can be made better. I personally found the efforts to improve efficiency and reduce costs by combining several components especially interesting today. Once again, I learned a great deal and I hope you did as well. As I said, write your thoughts down in the comments. Leave a thumbs up if you would like to show some appreciation for all the work Dani has done behind the camera and for the work I have done here in front of it. All that remains for me to say is thank you very much for watching. I am sure we will see each other again very soon. Take care and goodbye.